Okay, so today, folks, we're going to be checking out despite having it all, women are still unhappy. Let's get into it.
Hi folks, the Filipina here, and things are not going well for relationships in the West. So what else is new, right? Well, I've recently been looking at some astonishing surveys and studies, and I really fear for the future of our Western friends. Marriage is on the decline, fewer people are staying together, fewer children are being born, and a man's chances of finding a rewarding partnership are slipping away. While none of that might be news to you, the reasons behind it are both fascinating and downright scary.
And she's got a good point there. I saw a recent statistic where it said 6 in 1,000 people are getting married. Now, I don't know if that meant, only 6 men in 1,000 or if it meant men and women, but that's a pretty scary statistic. So far, just within the first 34 seconds, she's touched on a lot of really good points. So let's check it out.
So let's take a closer look at what's going on over there as women chase their dreams and ironically become more miserable than ever. Is the future of relationships really doomed? Or is there still an opportunity for happiness? Because happiness is something a lot of women in the West seem incapable of.
So that's also an interesting point because the research and studies are showing the data or data, however you want to say that, is showing that the more women pursue career and college and things like that, less and less happy they are. Now, of course, that's generally speaking, that's not every single woman, but the large majority of women.
According to a study by Yale University called The Paradox of Declining Female Happiness, women's overall happiness was always greater than the average man's until the 1970s, when their happiness levels began to erode compared to their male counterparts. Then in the 90s, for the first time since data has been collected, women are now far less happy than men, and the gap continues to grow. But why? Today's Western women have more advantages than just about anyone on the planet. They have top of the line education, or so they think. They have access to just about any goods and services in existence, and they have the money to pay for it themselves. So, what's the problem now?
And you've got to ask yourself, is it because people have too many options? History has shown that when people have too many options, these things can occur.
Could it be an abundance of choices coupled with less accountability for their actions that have combined to create a toxic mess? A big brother
I did not know she was going to say that. It's my first time watching this all the way through.
government that caters to their every whim, a culture that tells them that they deserve everything under the sun and more? Or is it something less complicated, like you men are still not giving them what they want? Well, let's find out what they want. Maybe it's something really reasonable. First, we have a study from OkCupid, which discovered that women found 80% of men either unattractive or below average. Now just think about that for a sec. 8 out of 10 men are unattractive? You'd think that'd be closer to 50%. But oh no, they only want the top 20 percentile. So what are the rest of you guys supposed to do? And what is it that the women are complaining about? Facial disfigurements or a pot belly the size of Texas?
The size of Texas. That's a pretty big pot belly. Um, yeah, she's touched on something really good there. So there are a lot of statistics out there showing that the women are far more picky across the board when it comes to all the different standards than the men are.
Well, let's take a look at another surprising survey.
Men and women were asked if they got 80% of everything they want in their ideal mate, would they be happy with that? Women said, no, that's settling. And men said, 80%, I'd be thrilled, that's a catch.
What are women too picky about here?
Men and women were asked what would be a deal breaker for going on a second date. And men named 3 things. She has to be cute enough. She doesn't have to look like Angelina Jolie. She just has to be cute enough. She has to be warm and kind. And she has to be interesting to talk to. Really valid criteria.
Ding, 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 ding. Pretty simple.
Pretty simple, like you said, pretty basic, right?
Right. Okay, reasonable, right? The women came back with 300 things that would rule out a guy for a second date. And we're talking about like another 2 hours and maybe a free dinner. And there were things like he wore a brown belt with black shoes. Or we were having a really good time and I thought he was cute and he was interesting. But then he did this Austin Powers impression and I just can't get that out of my mind and I can't go out with him again.
So let me get this straight. 80% of guys would be thrilled to find a woman who was cute, kind, and fun to talk to. But Western women thought that only getting 80% of what they wanted would be settling. And you'll be disqualified from the dating pool if you're wearing the wrong color belt. Now, I've said it before, but you guys are so screwed. Apparently, they've been told that every one of them deserves a flawless man to complement their own perfection. And that means that men with a few dings and dents get left in the dust. So what does all this mean for the future of relationships of it?
A few dings and dents. Sounds like a used car, right? Yeah, I could really go into a lot here. Yeah, there's concerns on both sides. Men have their concerns about what women are doing, body count, et cetera, et cetera. Women are concerned about how much does a man make, what does he look like. It does seem like, though, that there is a long laundry list of expectations and requirements from the women. And the men are just basically, they have like 3 or 4 basic requirements, right?
There. Well, one of the obvious effects is a dramatically falling birth rate. In the US, the number of births has fallen by 23% since 2007, which in the long run is a societal dead end.
And I can tell you, just living in the States myself, you don't see many babies around. I'm sure a lot of you that are living in the States out there that see this will agree. You don't see all that many babies around anymore. It used to be, a couple decades ago, you'd see a lot of, when you go out in public, you'd see women with baby strollers and you'd see couples together, the father or the husband or whatnot. You don't see that much anymore. And it makes you wonder, how are all of these companies surviving that make diapers and formula and baby wipes and baby food and baby clothes and so on. And it's, like she said, it's a really bad sign for society.
Is that because men no longer want offspring? Or is it because women don't want to interrupt their careers? No matter the reason, it's an unsustainable path for any country. But I'm not seeing much concern about the problem from people who are more interested in themselves.
And I think it's a little bit of both. I think that Western women are more interested in their careers, and men are less interested in having children because, well, it's expensive. And as a man, you take on, the responsibility of providing for those children. And if the relationship goes south, then family court guarantees that you get nothing. And I think that's a big problem here in the West, is that men have no rights when it comes to the family or the family court. I've seen it, I've observed it. I've been involved with family court people and their stories in family court since 2010. And I have seen so many men just get completely deleted from their family and their children's lives, and there's no way to, even men that have things already in place to guarantee, like let's say a court order, I get to see my kids on this weekend and these holidays and half the summer and so on, and they don't, and then if the woman decides to not obey that and just do whatever she wants, there is literally zero enforcement of men's rights. So at this point, I think it's safe to say that men have rights strictly and only on paper. They're not enforceable. They are enforceable if they were enforced by the courts, but they're not. So it's safe to say they are not they're not enforceable at this point in time.
And there doesn't seem to be any end in sight, because according to a happiness expert in an article from The Guardian, unmarried and childless women report being the happiest subgroup in the entire population. Now, I'm not sure how that can be true if females are also reporting a steep decline in their overall satisfaction levels.
Yeah, so I think that piece of, I think she would probably agree that that piece of information she just posted up on the screen there, saying that unmarried, childless women are happier, that's probably propaganda. Because as she stated, if women are reporting less happiness, there you go.
So maybe some women are just kidding themselves. You gotta love that cognitive dissonance. But regardless, the message being broadcast to the
Cognitive dissonance, that's a term that I have used often in the past.
ladies is clear. You don't need no man. Now, I could do a whole series of videos about who I think's really behind all this, but that'd get into politics, which is something I won't do yet. The effect of all this is that
And I think Filipina P, I think one day she will be inspired to get into the politics of it, because I can tell you that she's right. There are certain powers that be, shall we say, behind it.
downright scary, as new data suggests that by 2030, just 6 years from now, 45% of women will be single. Yep, almost half. And of course, that'll have an effect on you men as well. So what's the answer? Swear off women altogether? Go to the gym and improve yourself so you can be one of the lucky 20%? Try harder to be what women want so you can make them happy again?
And the problem with that right there is trying harder to be what they want as a man. Here's the thing for men, particularly in the West. You can have the fancy career with lots of money and what is it, social status. You can have the house, the big house, or maybe even multiple houses. You can have the fancy, super expensive cars. You can have the fancy, super expensive clothes and be a great looking guy and be in shape and just have all of it. But guess what? That does not prevent everything you work for from being completely taken. If the other person just says, I'm done. They don't even need a legitimate reason. They can just say, I'm bored, or whatever the case may be, and basically your life is over. And you're lucky if you'll ever get to see your kids as a man. So, and that's in the West.
Well, I ran across an interesting channel called The Happy Wife School by a woman who talks a lot of sense and gives some really great advice. She's only got about 39,000 subscribers, but I really think she deserves a lot
39,000 subscribers is actually pretty good. That's pretty good. It's a very good start. Very good start.
more. Let's see what she has to say.
Oh, we'll skip that, guys. There we go.
You are not the source of your wife's unhappiness, and that there is nothing you can do or stop doing that will make her happy. Nothing that you hear in marriage counseling.
I've actually seen this girl before. Yeah, she looks familiar. I've seen her a couple times. She's popped up in my YouTube feed.
Nothing that she asks you to read, not speaking speaking her love language, writing love notes to her, making her feel important, doing special things for her. None of those things will make your wife happy, because she is unhappy in herself, and she is the only solution to her unhappiness. And if you try to do the things you think will make her happy, she will resent it, find fault in it, and it won't be enough, and she'll find all the other things that she thinks you need to do to make her happy. So good men have to retire from trying to make your wife happy, and retire from throwing your actions and feelings into an empty bucket with holes.
So the message I got from this.
So before I let her speak there, this whole happy wife, happy life thing, that's a bunch of baloney. And yes, you have to be, whether you're the man or the woman, you have to be happy from within. You have to be happy and secure within yourself before you can build anything with anybody. Otherwise, if you're not complete from within and you're not able to be happy by yourself, you can't. You're trying to build something on a cracked and broken foundation. So it's doomed before you even get started.
Is that there's really nothing you can do about making Western women happy. Their misery is on them. I'm not surprised to hear that, because I have to admit, when I look at the lives many of them lead over there in prosperous countries, I have no clue what they're complaining about. But that still doesn't solve your problem, which is an issue of supply and demand. If there are fewer Western women looking for men, then the women that are looking for partners think that they can be as picky as they want and hold out for the perfect guy.
That is a huge part of it right there. She just hit a huge part of it, right? That's a big part of it.
To them, it's a buyer's market. The result of that is a culture of women who disqualify a guy for owning an older model car or having an unpopular political view. And part of that is human nature. I mean, let's reverse the situation. Let's say you lived in a society where there was an overabundance of women looking for relationships. They didn't need six packs and six figures. They were just happy to find a good man who loved them. Wouldn't the men in that society quickly realize that the odds were stacked in their favor and start getting more selective about finding a higher quality mate? Well, for those of you that missed the irony, I just described the situation in the Philippines. Your available pool of women interested in marriage and relationships is shrinking rapidly, but ours is not. We still view marriage as the gold standard and the ultimate model of success.
Boom. So see that right there, she nailed it. And that's what is at the core of all this, particularly for the Philippines. Love her her background is super cool, by the way. She does that with a green screen. She's got a great setup. Watch her other video too. She recently did a video just today or yesterday of like a behind the scenes thing for the Filipina piece. She puts a lot of work into her YouTube channel and her videos. So definitely go check her out and subscribe.
Now, just from the time I spent in the West, I know there are some good women over there who still have their heads screwed on straight and still value a traditional relationship.
There are, but there's fewer and fewer of them. Very few of them at this point, I would say.
I'm also fully aware that there are plenty of Filipinas who'd strip the meat off you like a piranha.
Yeah, I think those women are everywhere, no matter where you go.
But we're talking about averages here. The forces that motivate the average woman in each society. It really irks me when I read comments that say, all women are the same, because no, in many ways, we're not. Our basic hardware is the same, but our software can be very different because of cultural influences. And that's what makes your average Filipina different from your average Western woman.
Yeah, 100%. And the same thing applies to men. It's 100%. She's right there. Yep. The software, the hardware is the same, so to speak, but the software can be very different depending on where you are geographically, your culture, etc.
Both of us have the same basic needs, but the things we require to make us happy couldn't be more different. All women have a tendency toward hypergamy, but that just means marrying up, choosing someone who's in a better position than we are. It doesn't mean dropping a man every time a bigger fish swims by. Western women may do that, but...
Yeah, I think that's called, well, they call it hypergamy, but they also call it monkey branching, I think. Something like that.
The majority of Filipinas recognize a good thing when they see it. It's all about meeting a threshold for security. If you think women just want stacks of money, and whoever has the tallest stack wins, then you've got a very distorted view of what's actually going on here.
And that, see, in what she's talking about there is true, but see, in the West, I think that the expectations for men have been pushed and pushed higher and higher to the point to where that's basically all that does matter for women in the West is how high is your stack of money. Whereas it's easier for a man to provide security for a woman in a place like the Philippines because your money and your resources go a lot further over there. Whereas here in the States and other Western countries, your money these days is going a lot less further.
But given what many of you have been through, I can certainly understand why you might think that's the case. Now, if you're one of those guys that truly believes that all women are scheming, conniving, heartless liars, then that's what you're liable to find. For everyone's sake, please just stay where you are. You'd only be bringing the Western poison with you. But if you believe that men and women were meant to be together...
Very good point, very good point. Very good point. Don't bring your toxic attitude or experience to their country, because then you're just going to poison the waters, so to speak, right?
Together, and that there are ladies whose only dream is to be a loving and faithful wife, then you're welcome here, and you'll have pretty good odds of finding what you're looking for. As far as me personally, I look forward to being a traditional housewife or a trad wife. I want someone to share my life with, someone who snuggles up against me at night.
That's the perfect woman right there. Perfect.
Who literally has my back. I'm happy to take care of the house. And
literally.
One of my greatest joys will be putting good food on the table when my husband comes home from work. And you'll find that I'm not the only one. There are plenty of Filipinas looking for the same thing. Now I understand that some people don't crave those things, and more power to them. But I can't help believing that the vast majority of people not only want, but need that kind of connection. And what's the alternative? Having a few years of thrilling one-night stands and hanging out with friends at the club? And then what? The majority of a woman's life will not be spent in a hot body with men falling all over themselves to open the door for her. All too soon, the time will come when she's sitting alone and staring out the window with no one who gives a damn about her. That may sound good to a Western woman, but Filipinos think we have a different purpose. A purpose that involves a man in our lives. Yes, sometimes we can be jealous, hot-blooded, irrational, and even childish. But if you get a good one, we can be the most loyal and wonderful companion you can imagine. And
there you go. And that's what so many men are looking for. And also it's important to remember that a lot of men, of course this is a different video, this subject of men would be an entirely different conversation. However, it's important to note that it's not just the Western women. A lot of Western men have lost their way as well. They've lost the ability to properly lead a woman, much less lead a family. So there's problems on both sides because of deterioration of culture, deterioration of society.
we know how to be happy. So if you ever get tired of being surrounded by women who are constantly miserable no matter what you do, just remember that there are plenty of women over here who'd love to have you by our side. Well, that's it for this episode. And the next time you see me, I'll be wearing a Santa costume. Yep, it's that time again. And this year's Christmas special is gonna be the best one yet.
Oh yeah, she did this video like 3 months ago, so yeah, it's not Christmas anymore, but...
Count on it. See you on Friday.
Okay, so super cool video. She puts a lot of... Uh-oh, somebody's getting a ticket.
Sir, do you have any idea how fast you were speeding? Speeding through my video, skipping all the ads, and not paying attention to a word I said? I'm gonna let you go with a warning this time. A warning that you better give a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to my channel. Got it?
I don't even want to watch your stupid videos.
All right, out of the car. I think this one needs a full cavity search. The hard way. And for the rest of you good citizens, may I suggest watching my other videos too. Just remember, I can have you in handcuffs anytime I want.
Sleeping Booty.
The second
Well, all right, guys. So I'm gonna leave it right there. She does a great job. Like I said, go to her channel and subscribe. I'm gonna leave a link, as always, as promised, below for this video. But watch her video she just did. I think it was yesterday, on the behind the scenes, what she does on a daily basis. She puts a lot of work, a tremendous amount of effort and time and thought into her videos, a lot of preparation. Go check out her that video as well. You'll see it on there. But anyway, guys, as always, another awesome video by Filipina P, and we will see you very soon.